Hi everyone, it's Franny from Heidi and Franny's Garage, and today we're doing an oil change on a 2002 Porsche Boxster S. So this is a 986 car and has the M96 engine, so I'm going to run you through the whole process for that. That's up next on Heidi and Franny's Garage. Tools and supplies we'll need. We've got our rubber gloves and our torque wrench. We've got our filter cover wrench that we're going to put over the filter cover to get that off. We've got our 8mm hex to take the drain plug out of the bottom of the car. And next to that is our ratchet. You'll see Wayne Dempsey's book here, 101 Projects for Your Porsche Boxster. This is a wonderful book. If you have a Boxster, it has tons of procedures in there, from brakes to oil to even how to take your engine out of your car. Really, really good book. We've got our rags and roll towel in the back there. The oil filter we're going to use and a new crush washer. And to the right of that is a container from a company called Blackstone that will actually analyze oil for you. On a 986 or 996, you really, with that engine in there, you really want to keep on the oil and make sure that there aren't any metally bits in it or anything that's indicating something going wrong in the engine. And we're going to cut the filter apart when we take it out, and we'll take a good look at it. But sending the oil off to a company like Blackstone to have it analyzed can really give you a huge amount of information as to how your car is actually doing internally. So it's like $25 and it's well worth the money. In addition to that, we have our oil receptacles in the back and 10 quarts of new oil. I'm going to run you through the procedure for today. We're going to go ahead and take the car out and tootle around a little bit, warm it up. And then when it comes back, we'll go ahead and put it up on the lift and we'll pull the drain plug out of the bottom. Now, I mentioned that little Blackstone kit to do the oil analysis on the car. They want a midstream pull on that, so we'll go ahead and pull the oil out as it's flowing out. And then once we're done with all that, we'll go ahead and pull the oil filter cover and pull the oil filter out. It's also on the bottom of the engine. So we'll go ahead and clean that whole thing out really well, put in our new oil filter and our new seals, and throw that guy back up in there, put a new crush washer in, and once all the oil is finally done dripping out of the car, we'll go ahead and put the drain plug in and torque that thing down. Great, so then we'll go ahead and lower the car back down and add our new oil. We're going to have to warm the car up a little bit to get a good reading out of the electronic dipstick. We can sort of check it. I believe there's a mechanical dipstick on these cars as well. So we'll check that as well. And that's pretty much the whole process. So let's get started. We're going to start by breaking the drain plug loose, and we'll get it a little bit loose. We'll go ahead and pull our tray back, and I've got our container here that we've got from Blackstone to put oil in. So we're going to kind of grab a little oil as it's flowing out. It's probably going to go everywhere, but it'll be a thing. And then we'll let the oil continue to drain down, and then I will go on to the oil filter and get that off as well. Okay, so we've got our little container here. We're all set. We're just going to break this loose. There we go. Pull our drain pan back here. Loosen our plug a bit. And I've got my safety glasses on because oil can go everywhere. This will come out quite fast. There we go, very close. All right, we'll go ahead and grab some oil right about now-ish. There we go. That wasn't too bad. So we've got our nice sample here that we're going to send over to Blackstone. We'll go ahead and put that on the workbench. Now I'm going to let this drain a little bit the oil filter cover is very, very close to the drain plug on the bottom of the car. So it makes it kind of difficult to try and get containers and things in the right spot. So I'm going to let this drain a little bit, and I'll use a smaller container and catch it and move this one out of the way so we've got a little more room. There we go. Okay, so I've got my other little container here for the oil filter cover itself here. So we use our little fancy dancy oil filter cover wrench to take this off. There we go. All right. Okay, so we pull this off. It's also pretty hot. There we go. Not a lot of oil, but it is a bit messy. Take our filter down. There we go. Now, while all of that is draining, we're going to go ahead and cut our oil filter completely apart. We're going to check in each one of the pleats. It's very, very important on these engines with the intermediate shaft bearing issues that you double check everything that's going on in here. So we also talked about, of course, sending the oil off to Blackstone. This is another thing you can do, just give you a quick visual check right away on the status of your engine. We have our filter here that we took out, so we're going to use a knife. I'm using a single-edged razor blade to go ahead and cut the tops off of these things on both sides. We're going to pull it out and check out all the pleats. It's pretty simple. It's just a paper filter, so if you've got a utility knife, anything that's good and sharp will cut right through this. Once you have it completely cut all the way around on the insides here, you want to go ahead and just slice it down the middle on one side here. And you should be able to peel the whole filter out at this point if you cut all the way through it. I got pretty close. Doesn't really matter. We just need to get it out so we can take a look at the pleats. Okay, now that we have our end caps off, we can go ahead and unfold this thing and see how big it is. It's really big. And what we're looking for in here is anything really kind of shiny or clumpy. And looking at this, it actually looks really, really clean all the way through. Shiny bits, super, super bad. So if you do start seeing things in here, different bits, like there's a little, I mean, it's an oil filter, so you'll see some stuff in here, but there's a teeny weeny little black dot here. That's nothing to be too worried about. I do see one teeny weeny little metal bit. I usually see in these filters a couple, maybe 2 or 3 or something, not many at all, but it does happen. What we're really looking for is a shower of particles. That would tell us that the bearings have gone bad in the intermediate shaft bearing. So a lot of those bearings are like chrome plated, so as they fall apart and break up, you get all these shiny bits everywhere. And if you see any of that in one of these oil filters, you pretty much have the car towed to the service station because you really shouldn't drive it. It's probably going to blow up on the way. There's another one. We've got another little shiny bit there. You can see that one there, maybe. So, but there's just that little one. And going through the rest of this pleat, it all looks really good. We have a little black blob right up there. And a couple of little teeny little bits here and there. So I'm going through this, it really looks pretty good to me. I don't see any like eminent failure issues. Our next step is going to be to go ahead and clean our oil filter cover and replace the gasket that's on it. So the new filter kits, when you buy a filter kit, will always come with a, should come with a new rubber gasket for this. So just clean it. You want to look inside, impossible to see inside there because it's really dark and black, but you want to look inside there for anything awful in there as well. if there's anything that you didn't catch in the filter, maybe there's something in here. You just want to double check, make sure everything is clean. Okay, that's all nice and clean. Now our next step is going to be to replace this gasket. It seems pretty simple. So there's actually a small notch in the threads here for you to go ahead and grab underneath here. You don't want to just kind of come in here with a screwdriver and willy-nilly kind of crank this thing off, because you don't want to mess up this groove at all in here. And you want to notice that the gasket really only goes in the only place it can. The flange here, and then there's another black flange here, then the washer, and then the threads start. So we just kind of hook that guy off with a nice soft tool and pull it off. As you've seen in my other videos, I'm going to use a little bit of silicone grease on the new gasket to get it to seat easier, and so it's not stiff or really rips itself to shreds when it comes off. If you don't have any silicone grease, just use a little bit of engine oil. It'll work just fine too. Doesn't take much at all. And we just put our gasket back on. Remembering it goes not. So now you can kind of see a little easier this big wide gap here is where our gasket's going to go. So put that on. There we go. We are all set. Our new filter, brand new filter, just slides into the cup here like that, and we're all set. With our filter all back in and all ready to go here, we're just going to go ahead and clean our drain plug and put on our new crush washer. Okay, so we've got our drain plug all clean, we've got our new crush washer, and our new filter and its little filter housing. So we're all set to go ahead and put these back in the car. So I've got my trusty dusty torque wrench set to 37 foot-pounds for the drain plug on the bottom of the car. I've got it in there by hand. You just want to kind of seat it down a little bit, pull back, and torque it in one movement. There we go. All right, well, we're all set with our drain plug. Next is going to be to reinstall our filter and filter cover. It just basically screws back up. Now there is a torque value for this. It's 19 foot-pounds. One additional optional step I didn't show is to fill the oil filter cover about halfway up with engine oil. That'll help when we start the car so that the engine doesn't run dry for quite as long. Until it seats, you can do it by hand. There it goes, it stopped. Going to reset our torque wrench to 19 foot-pounds. That's it. Okay, so we're all done under here. Up next, we're going to go ahead and lower the car, refill the car with the oil, and check it with the mechanical dipstick. But then we're also going to warm up the car and use the electronic dipstick as well. So our next step is going to be to go ahead and add the oil to the car. Oil goes in here under the yellow cap. The blue one is for antifreeze. So this car is a 986. So up to 2004 they came with a dipstick. So we're going to put in 5 quarts of oil, and then we're going to double check with our dipstick, and we're keep adding oil until it gets up to the top level on the dipstick. And once it's up at the top level of the dipstick, then we're going to go ahead and start the car, because the oil level is going to drop. It's going to fill up the oil filter and all the other stuff in there, and so the oil level will go down a little bit. We'll double check it again, and then we'll add oil as necessary. So that's the process. Got my big red funnel, super awesome. Now, one thing I like to always mention about these caps is that they always have a rubber seal in them, and you want to just check the condition of the seal, make sure it's soft, pliable, moves around a bit. This is all under vacuum in here, so if these seals go bad, the engine will start running like crap. So want to make sure that's always in good shape. This one feels nice and it's supple and moving around. I don't see any cuts or splits or breaks in it at all, so this is a good one. So So the oil we've got here is 5 quarts, and so it's perfect to start out with. We'll go ahead and drop the entire thing in there and then start checking our level. Okay, we've got our first 5 quarts in. We're going to go ahead and pull the dipstick and take a look at it and see where we are. Put a cover on our oil so nothing falls in there. All right, as we pull it out, the way to check these things is to lay them down on the cloth like this and then just sort of pull them back a little bit and see if you can get a reading at all. This dipstick's totally dry, so there's nothing on there. So I'm going to go ahead and add some more oil and try to bring it up to this top notch.
Eventually.
Okay, so I think we're there. It looks like we're at the top of the mark. We pull that away. Kind of see there's oil all the way through the line here, so I think we're pretty good. We're going to go ahead and start the car and get the oil flowing through it a little bit, and come back and then double check the oil level and see if we need to add any more. All right, now that we've run the engine a bit to get the oil flowing, let's check our oil level again. We've checked our dipstick up front with the electronic and with this one, and both of them are kind of correlating that we're about 1 quart low. So we're going to go ahead and add another quart, and we'll go through the testing procedure again. All right, without wiping it down, you can kind of see it's a little bit shinier just past the first mark there. So I'm going to call that good. I'm going to check the electronic dipstick one more time and see where we are with that. Well, I ended up adding just a tad more. So if you're keeping count, where we ended up was just over 9.5 quarts total that we put in the car. That sounds about right. I think the capacity is actually 10 quarts of oil. So there's always some left in the car and all that. So that sounds about right. There's a tad more that we can use to top off in between oil changes, which is also very handy as well. All right, so that's it. We're all done. We've got our oil filler cap back on and our dipstick put back in, and we've cleaned up any oil or anything. We checked under the car and looked for any leaks, and it's all nice and dry under there. So that's it. We're all done. Wanted to show you real quick like a bunny what the Blackstone Laboratories report really looks like. They have a comment section up top here, and then they give you elements and parts per million of your metals and such, aluminum, chromium, iron, that sort of thing. Quite a few different metals. Then other properties like fuel percentage, antifreeze percentage, water, that sort of thing in there. And they also give you some universal averages over here on the right so that you can see how your car stacks up to everyone else's cars. The report is about $25. We did our sample here of oil, and it just needs to be sent back to them, and then they send you a report. So if you've got a 986 or a 996, I highly recommend you get one of these reports. Even for a 997, 987 Gen 1 car, probably not a bad idea either. Well, I hope you enjoyed this oil change in a 2002 Porsche Boxster S. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you got any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them down below and I'll get right to them. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit the little bell next to it and you'll be notified the next time we put out a video. We try to put them out 1 or 2 a week or so. So thank you so much for watching, and until next time, safe travels. Bye.